I have I've spent the past week or 2 weeks, three, four, whatever, how long now. I have found that most foods available have excess amount of viruses in them, and it is a pandemic that has spread. And I have spent time and experimentation finding which diet would have immunity from the viruses and not contain any inside of them. And the diet I came up with that I'm transitioning to is it's all organic. Is the water, the mountain water I would have before, the Cadia organic lentils, farmers market butternut squash puree, pumpkin, organic pumpkin seed oil. It's like styrian something from Amazon. I'm trying to transition to eating more pumpkin and possibly pumpkin seeds. Cadia corn and Happy brand eggs that I found that are organic. I tried those today. I found out I can eat eggs and I need them to fill in the nutritional gaps of the other things I've been eating. And maybe like 3 eggs or so a day. And some pink Himalayan salts because I have a very low sodium diet or salt diet. So I need to add it in my food. And I thought there was something else. Might be it. It's a very limited diet because almost every food on the planet is contaminated with these viruses. But I found if I stick to that diet and I eat the foods and only eat those foods that don't have the viruses, which I'm very sensitive to now, even just eating. I've tried different foods like onions, broccoli. I tried wheat. The Ezekiel bread, the California burgers. I stopped those things because I found out they had viruses in them. The olive oil, I stopped that. And the thing is that I feel I've been detoxing a lot because I've had to do that with the foods, but I feel much more normal. I think it's curing my influenza and things that I had just with my diet, is what I'm doing. And I found out I can actually cure these viruses with this diet. And it's by not actively eating them. So the thing with the viruses is that it works by, the problem is they're actively being consumed by everyone, and they have been for thousands of years. But if you come up with the right diet, which I have with my diet, and that's all you eat, then you'll have immunity to viruses, all of them, and you won't have them anymore. And I've noticed that I've gone back to like studying the shape shifting, the magic and things like that because paranormally and magically things have been getting extremely noticeable from this diet. So the point was my study of deathlessness, whatever. I don't really care about that right now. Got fixated on regeneration, regenerating my body. So the primary source of my energy could regenerate my body physically here on Earth. And I also thought that I should probably try to leave Earth and go to the purple planet that is of Perpy Lurpy in the story. And ironically, because it is like a theater thing, it's ironic because the actual planet isn't dangerous. It's actually the only place in existence that has regeneration. And in my mind, with my astral projection, which I found that astral projection should not exist. You should not try to astral project. It is a thing of the Araman, and you should avoid it, the Araman, at all costs. And that's the part that will doom you to die, like it says in the Bible. But the riddle with Adam and Eve, which I was trying to solve with the story of Perpy Lurpy, was that the agriculture was the key to getting back the angelic powers, living forever, bridging the gap to the other realms, and also getting regeneration, which is that you can't die and you don't age. I'm not saying I am like that now, but the body is very sensitive to the processes, which is why the diet is very important. And it takes some time because even constipation with metals, like iron or something, just metals you have in your body, can prevent the process of occurring. Even if you do the diet, you'll still have to wait for your body to clear it out. So it's a very sensitive process, but I think it will work. And I will have, I don't know if I would record it, but there'd be there have been strange experiences happening. Like I've actually been transporting myself outside of this reality, which I found to not be true, but a dream of the Araman, and that we're all trapped here and our actual reality is somewhere else. And this is all a dream. And I found that I've actually been teleporting partially outside of this reality or false reality, and it's been happening more and more with my diet, and I've only been having this diet for a very short period of time. It only takes one thing for it to not work, and I think it was the lack of nutrients I was having with the lack of eggs, but I only introduced eggs a couple days ago, and it was a very small amount. But I had 3 eggs today, which is probably how much I'm going to eat. And I only had one of the organic eggs that I was trying to add to my diet that have like a deep orange color instead of a bright yellow or a darkish yellow, whatever, because I didn't realize my eggs weren't organic. And I found that it is actually possible with this diet to get outside of this reality with that. And the difficult part is even if you find those foods to work, it does depend on the brands. Like with the corn, it did depend on which brand I got them on with the viruses, because some of them I found were other brands were contaminated, and it does matter which corn it is. Like super sweet corn will not work. It's generally contaminated, I think, with the viruses. And I found that I have sweet corn, Cadia, the canned corn is sweet corn, and it's fine for me. I noticed it's fine. So I noticed, I've studied the patterns of the foods, and it's like, do I need to introduce more foods? I don't think so with the eggs, if I eat a large amount of every one of the foods I have, which the pumpkin I'm working up to because the eggs have like all of the nutrients I need. And if there is something, then I will find it for that. But I feel actually more built, like I'm not as fragile anymore with my diet because I realized this thing people do with like eating healthy is having all these different things. When even if there weren't viruses, your body does not work like that, and it works better with fewer foods but in very large amounts. And I found North America is the healthiest country agriculturally in the world. In like the time of the Native Americans, I think. And they were the closest people to being able to go through that barrier and of reality. And I don't know really what it was like, but spiritually, I have contacted people who have been here, and I am generally more fond of that period than other parts of the world. And I was more drawn to Japan and Europe and things like that, but I've decided I should stay here in America while I'm here, but I don't think it's going to take very long for me to get out of here. I'm just not sure what that looks like. And, uh, what was it? Was that, the Native Americans, they're the ones who had the ideas of the shape shifting, the Wendigos, the things like that. And those are the types of energies I've been getting very strongly from this process, which you would think if I'm being teleported outside somewhere else, that it would be of space or something like that. But surprisingly, it's not. It's actually more in Earth. Like it feels like 2010 sort of feeling Earth when everything was more normal. And I think it's that my other, like, more root form, like the root form people have, which I guess is like the spirit, but I think the spirit world is just physical bodies, but in a different vessel, is that's more of like the root energy for us here. It's like that is in the planet, the purple planet that is regenerative currently, like right now, that's where it is. But what it's going to look like in its process isn't literally that. It, for some reason, is here on Earth. And I think it's kind of weird with how it works. It's like, if hypothetically, if that barrier was completely removed, it would be like I could leave, but it would have to be based on a choice that I stay, but not on a choice I make, like saying, oh, I want to leave right now. It'd be based on the choice of the root body. And it would be more of like a final thing of like, unless it's an emergency, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of changing my mind. And, anyways, uh, I'm going back to reading more of The Boy Who Became God, of reading more of that, because I found that my research is actually coming to an end, because it's like right now I try to research everything of like, as long as I'm here and I don't just have the ability to walk out or shapeshift or something, then I have something to research. And I'm running out of things to research, and it's not because I'm failing, it's because it's more of I have to wait until my diet is clearing my body out and rebuilding new DNA, whatever. Because I found the reason people don't have magical abilities is purely based on their health, their physical health. And it might be scary to think that billions of people could do magic if they all had my diet, but they don't, and people generally don't listen to my diet. They're like, why? And it's not because I ask or tell people that. I know how it is, because if I know people won't even be entertained by the idea of eating less of a bad food they already eat, I can take that as an answer to no, they're not going to listen and changing everything about their diet, have this very specific formula for something that kills off the element inside someone, which could be the same demonic magic that is used by people to sustain them. And it's like most people, I think if you did that, they would feel like they're dying. And it's because those are the people who are the problem on the planet, is that they would physically be dying in response to that, which would look like having a low absorption rate or maybe too much of a detox, something. It would look like that and physically here, but the root cause of it would be uh, they just they can't sustain their own energy. The point of the diet is that the I am of the person, that they can sustain their own energy, is their primary energy source. So the foods I'm finding are foods that aren't alive, which is why they don't have viruses. They're non existent. They allow your energy to be created inside your physical body, and that's why this magical thing can work, and also why the virus doesn't prey on it, is because there's nothing there for it to prey on. So these are the foods that I think should be eaten to get out of here on this planet, because we're trapped here. But with the diet I have, it is working. I think is I can actually see ghosts and demons and things, and it's like it's happening more and more without changing my diet. I'm just doing it consistently. And my imagination is it's disappearing. It's like I don't imagine things. It's like when I do that thing of when I normally imagined something, instead of an idea or a picture or something, I'm physically somewhere else. And it's the same place, which is like the purple planet place, which ironically is like my house, just like in a fisheye lens kind of. So it's like my house flying in that place and I'm in the house. So it's like I wrote about this, some of this in my story of Perpy Lurpy, and I'm going to eventually write or live through more of it. But this is kind of it. Is like all of the research and everything on planet Earth. Really, the answer is agriculture. And I've been reading Rudolf Steiner's lectures like about agriculture and things, and it's like I've related the things I've found is like the moon energy is of the Araman. The Araman is the planet where the old gods were, and also about insects, which I'm finding are very important, is that insects are like the foods I have in my diet, is that they technically don't exist. So they are the only way to actually shapeshift is to shapeshift into a sort of insect thing, because animals require the aromatic planet. And since it is corrupted, you would turn into a monster, which not only would it not work, meaning like it would just be psychological, but it's in a negative way. But with the insects, it's like I'd have visions of like I am an insect, and it's like obviously I don't want to be an ant or something. I don't want to be one, but it probably lead up to some sort of hybrid something. I don't know. And is and it makes me think of the boogeyman from Nightmare Before Christmas. And I've actually, the boogeyman was one of the footage clips I was trying to convert in the 1-bit format, which is what I led to the idea of in my book, The Boy Who Became God. So that's all I'm going to say for now. I think I needed to say that. And this is kind of it. I'm glad I'm only 21, and I'm turning 22 next month. I'm starting online school soon. I'm starting my stamp business on Etsy. So I just have a canvas and I get a stamp of drawings I have that I'm trying to make based on AI generated art, or that is pixelated, that I'm trace drawing and editing. So like I'm kind of doing my own thing combined with a trace drawing, or is so and also trying to get it copyrighted. So I'm trying to, if I can, actually copyright my art, but I'm doing the black and white art, so that in pixel art, so I'm just pixelizing the drawing and making it black and white. And well, I draw it in black and white, not only just for the stamp itself, but also because I like black and white art, especially with like World of Horror, which is black and white, and things like that. Not that many people do it, and I don't I don't compare myself to other people or anything. I'm just saying I can't really find anything that I like already that's like that. So even if I didn't want to make money with the shop, just more of just something to do than like to have money. I realized through studying materialism that materialism isn't the way out at all. Like I was buying crystals and collecting them and things, but now it's like I don't do any of that anymore because I realize it's useless. And if anything, dangerous to do that. It's just, there's no point. It doesn't do anything at all. And it's expensive. But anyways, with the stamp is, I'll have it on my shop. I might even show a video of it, but even though this is private, but I know people are watching this, and it's even if they are somewhere else. And also that copyright, whatever. I might have was going to say something else, but I guess it doesn't matter. I would say that I do know that angels and deities and people I converse with are aware, just as I am, that the world, even if it isn't noticed by people, it doesn't matter because they don't notice anything. It is a very different place now, and it happened in just the past few weeks. Is that the idea that there is going to be an opening for these, or at least some of them who are allowed to go physically back to Earth, is going to happen soon. So I would say it's imminent. And I found out with my research that it's possible, and not only that, but it's not very difficult to incite that to happening. So part of with my stamps is actually finding out that I think it's possible that having physical art of the black and white and the pixel art of things related to those genres of real things that have been happening will actually teach the bones in the body, I think, to understand the sound as reverberated in the air around me, to acclimate it to transition the mind into physical reality. So I found that the point of nourishment is just to sustain the brain, but that's what I found. Its primary pursuit, other than locomotive movement, which is just by everything else, or just well, one thing is I learned from Rudolf Steiner is that most of the energy in the human body isn't from food, it's from the entire universe around us, and the energy is localized into our body through, I think, heat. And with that, we can have locomotive movement and things like that. I think the chemicals that are created with the amino acids and things like that outside of the brain can be used for absorption and maintenance of the body to make sure the digestive system is working, and the organs, which are primarily ultimately geared towards the digestive system, I think. And I think the primary motive of food is for the brain, which I think the everything that happens around us, uh, this means contradicting other people. This also happening for other people, and this is what free will is that everything in our physical reality is created with the human body. So our not only that, but it's because of our brains. So our brains regenerate our body, create energy from nothing into our body, and food allows the connection between the physical reality and the I am of speaking things into existence, into happening. So that's why the thing is, if people don't have an I am, the energy has to come from somewhere, and so that's where many people, their bodily energy literally is running on old God energy, which is the old God possessing them, which is called sin, and basically using their bodies, providing energy to them, but at the cost of the I am, which I guess is called the soul. So I'm finding it's very scientific with how it is. And the thing with Adam and Eve is the food, which is the diet I found. And I mean, this is pretty much it. It's like, I don't know what else there is. The earth is like, I'm human, and I know that me and my age and related things is the aromatic form, saying that people should age and go through these stages of life and then they die. That's the aromatic form. But the luciferic form I found, which is admittedly where I get my energies from primarily, is how I develop my narcissistic self, which is the thing I run on to get me through this insane world. So I would imply the luciferic spirit as like a narcissism of the self, of like, I need to focus on me, myself, and with that I develop the I am. And I just see it as like a mirror of myself. It's like the luciferic part. It's like it's about getting everything else in order so I can just be myself. So it's like make everything just normal. And the aromatic form is like it's about everyone and giving yourself up for the world, only to find out later the world will not do the same for you. So that's what Jesus did. He gave himself up to the world in a sacrifice, but that was him becoming sin. And that was living in the aromatic world, was being sacrificial and being a sacrifice. What he should have done, I think, is given up on people and let them do it themselves and not let himself die. That's what I think. And that's the Luciferic side of me, is that I think it would have been better for our God to not have died than for him to have died for people only to abandon him. But anyways, I think that's it for this video, and this will be interesting, I think, what happens next. So, bye. This is Liam Patrick Mahoney. I'm turning 22 in about a month, and it is August 2023, and Saturday, 11:10 p.m. And I am in my room talking to the camera, supposedly by myself, but I know there are other people unseen around me. So I'm still alive, and I will be for a long time, probably forever. So bye.